Kenyan Israelites oppressed and murdered off Kilifi Coast over false witchcraft accusations to claim land. Micah chapter 2, verse 1 through 2. I want to give all the honor, glory, and praise to the Most High Yahawah and His only begotten Son, YAHAWASHI. Double honors to my elders, who are the elders of all of Israel of great millstone, who taught me this truth through the Spirit of the Most High and His only begotten Son. Singing honors to the elect and brothers who risk their lives of freedom to do so by constantly pushing His word in truth and sincerity. And peace and blessings to the 1/3, which consists of mainly women and children, and token few good men as well. And to the confusion of faces in the four corners of the earth, because every Hebrew Israelite is not going to look like a so-called black man, okay? We've been scattered all over the world because of the transatlantic slave trade, which is why I'm making this video today in representation to Israelites who are scattered all over the world. And this comes from Kenya, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason why I really want to touch this because there's a brother in Tanzania. All right, shout out, shalom to that brother from across the pond, and that brother's what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent. So like that brother's very consistent, and he's been consistent through the years, you know. So I want to touch on this because in my spirit, I believe these to be Israelites because they're under that curse. You got to remember, even they say the enemies will be them of your own household. Your own household doesn't necessarily have to mean your immediate family like your brother and your sisters as well. They can also mean Israel, right? Remember even Paul said it in, 2 Corinthians 11th chapter? He said that he went through many trials. It said even his own kinsmen, by his own countrymen, right? So what's happening in Kenya, you have these individuals that have land. And what's happening is that they're being murdered weekly. Elderly men, mainly because, as always, the men will pass on their inheritance to their sons, which is why men always wanted to have sons. But in this case, they're killing off the elderly men who are like 60, 70 years old, and they don't have documentation to hand this land off to their offspring. And what's happening is that the governments are killing these people off to get their land. And this is something I just wanted to bring forth to the forefront, because this is no different than what happened in South Africa with the colonizers. This is no different than what happened with the Native Americans here in what's known as the United States of America. They created 13 colonies. They call themselves colonizers. No, you are rapers, robbers, and murderers. You are of your father the devil, who was a murderer and a liar from the beginning. Did not Cain do that to his brother Abel? You do the same thing to your brother. Yes, the so-called white man came out the same womb as the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American man. Yes, we are twins, not identical, but we are paternal. People don't understand that. We have a closer relation with the so-called white man than we do with the so-called African. Understand? But that's something different. So let's get to it. Micah chapter 2, verse 1 through 2. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And this is the first thing that came to my mind. Because this man right here, he got stabbed in the eye. And he pulled his eye out. His wife was giving the testimony of what happened right here. Said they stabbed him with a knife like this and pulled. She says, pointing to the long scar stretching down from his collarbone. So that was one on his collarbone. They also did the same thing to his eye. She takes his head in her hand, showing what happened in another attack. They had to pull the scalp back and sew it together. So they've been brutally trying to kill these people so they can get their lands. And that's sad. That's sad. Mr. Jephthah was accused of being a witch and has been attacked twice in his home, 50 miles inland from the coastal town of Malindi. The first left him without an eye. The second nearly killed him. So what they're doing is go back to like the Salem witch trials, where they'll say, "Oh, she's a witch," and they were burning women at the stakes, right? They're doing the same thing with them. Oh, they're witches. They're witches. So they can kill off the men because there isn't like a will or some promissory note that's been customized for them to write and have notarized saying this goes to my son and such and such. No, it's just that they knew such and such, this is their land, this is their area, this is their dwelling. Mr. YAHAWAH has 3 sons. His eldest son's going to get this property. But because he don't have documentation, they'll try and kill him off and take the land. Like, it's just wicked all over, man. It's just wicked all over. Ecclesiastes 3:22. Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his portion. For who shall bring him to see what shall be after him? And this is very sad. Belief in witchcraft and superstition is common in many countries. Very true. But in parts of Kenya, Malawi, Tanzania, and South Africa, it can be used to justify killing elderly people to take their land. And like I said, it's a brother in Tanzania. That brother's very fervent in the spirit. And I thought about him when I read it. I'm like, Kenya, Tanzania, I'm like, oh, that's, even South Africa, it's down at the bottom. It's like, we have brothers and sisters that's living in these areas. I don't matter how you look at it. There's no way after 70 AD, after Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian did the great slaughter of our people from 70 AD all the way up to 1492. You mean to tell me for 1,500 years we did not scatter ourselves all over Africa? Like, stop it. So we are all over Africa. Okay. And like I said, I didn't want to make this long, but I want to bring this to attention. It says, few people in this region have title deeds for their land. All right. Without a will, they rely on passing it down customarily through the family. Mr. Wanyama says 7 out of 10 of the killings are elderly men because land ownership and inheritance lie with them. Understand? Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 1 through 4. So I return and consider all the oppressions that are done under the sun. And behold, the tears of such as were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And on the side of their oppressors there was power, but they had no comforter. Look at this lady's face, man. They're like a face of defeat. I perceive. It's sad. Look at that. Sad, man. And about an hour's drive away from YAHAWAH family lands, a rescue center for the elderly run by Charity. It is home to around 30 elderly people who have been attacked and are unable to go back to their own land. Now listen, you all have, come on now, you know how it is. You know when you go see grandma, when you go see grandpa, whatever. You know when you was a little kid, they was a little more active, they was a little more agile. They can catch you real quick and whoop you. But as they get older, you see how they can barely get up to walk to go get a glass of water. So just imagine this being like your grandma, your grandfather, who can barely fend for themselves. You got people trying to kill them for their land. That's sick. That's sad. But this is oppression that's happening to this day. It's still happening to our people. Like I said, I perceive them to be Israelites, because the brother in Tanzania is over there as well. Once again, Shalom from across the pond. All right, and so 63-year-old Katana Chara, who looks much older than his years, has been around 12 months. They're talking about he's been at the spot. He said, I know the person who cut my hands, but we have never met face to face since. It says he was attacked. Somebody accused him of being a witch over the death of another man's child, but they believe the real reason was because he had 6 acres of land and they wanted it. He said, I don't have anything to do with witchcraft. I have one piece of land and it is at the seafront. It is a big piece of land, so they want this people land. That's why they're trying to kill them off, man. And the big farmer did the same thing with small farmlands. Like someone had a small farmland, their goats can graze the grass through the fence. What does that mean, graze? That means that their cows or their herbivores will chew the cud, which is grass that's going through the fence from another field. But big farmers say, your animals are grazing our land, we're going to sue you. And then because big farmer has money to spend, they got that loan money, The small farmers, like, we can't compete with them. So then they get bought out. And then big pharma, they start selling you all these GMO, hormone infested animals compared to the naturally grown animals from those farmers. They corner the market. But that's what it's the same thing that's happening to people that live in rural areas. Rather than forcing you to get out, they just raise the property taxes because you can't pay that cost of living because they're not increasing your wages at where you live at. They gentrify the area. So even when I go back to the hood that I lived at, I see Becky walking up and down the street with her shih tzus and all that. I see Esau walking outside with his shirt off and everything. I'm like, yo, this is not the hood as it was 15 years ago, right? But it just goes to show you, man, everywhere in the hood, where my father lived, like Edomites up and down the street, all in where we live at. Because like they're raised, because this is their society. It's not for you to be. It's just not your rest. This is why they still getting oppressed to this day over there in Africa. Our people. All right. But I don't want to make this too long. Let me close out. I just want to touch on this really quick. You can always go to the article, which I will leave in the description box for you. Okay. So this is Isaiah 57:15 through 20. And I'm going to close out 21. For thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. And contrite means someone that's broken down in the spirit. That's what it means to be contrite. You know what it's like to be broken down. You know what it's like when you boo-hoo cry and your body just breaks down. When you boo-hoo cry like that, that breaks down your immune system as well because you're becoming very, very weak. All right? And that's what the Lord does. The Lord wants you to think about this. If you're already strong, why the Lord needs to strengthen you? Why would you need the Lord to be your strength? That's why the Lord is near to those who are contrite and brokenhearted. That's heavy. Remember when Yahawashi was on the scene and the wicked scribes and Pharisees was like, why does your master sit with publicans and sinners? He said, because those, I'm roughly paraphrasing, they're like those who are sick need healing. They need a physician. Yahawashi the physician. He said, but you who are whole, you need no physician. He said, but go back, and understand what I say and not forgive you. Like Yahawashi was so cold. All Yahawashi pretty much said, these people are telling me they broken. They need healing. But you act like you don't need the Son of Man. You don't need Yahweh's son. You know what? Go on about your way, because you perfect, you whole, but I still forgive you. That's what Yahawashi is saying. Same thing with the Lord. If you're whole, if you're full, if you don't need me, then hey, by all means, go your way. I don't need to be near you. But if you are humble, if you are of a contrite spirit, if you are someone who is down and broken, the Lord is near unto you. Because He sent His only begotten Son to be the physician, right? To heal our broken spirits. Nonetheless, Isaiah 57:16, for I will not contend forever, neither will I be always wroth, which means mad. For the spirit should fail before me and the souls which I have made. For the iniquity of his covetousness was I wroth and smote him. I hid me and was wroth, and he went on forwardly in the way of his heart. That's what happened to us as a people. The Lord punished us and hid his face to see what our end would be. But he made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that we should receive the kingdom of heaven, the law, statutes, and commandment in the land of Israel, and shall rule the world with YAHAWAH, Yahawashi. But we had to go through this part of our agreement because we broke our agreement, which is what? To not spiritually fornicate with other gods, to put no other God before the Lord, to keep the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our to the ability. If that, but that's why we need a new body and a new heart. But let me get to it. Let me close out. Isaiah 57:18. I have seen his ways and will heal him. I will lead him also and restore comfort unto him and to his mourners. I create the fruit of the lips. Peace, peace to him that is far off and to him that is near. like the brother in Tanzania and the fellow Israelites that are far off and near. I thought about that when I thought about him when I read that one. Saith the Lord, and I will heal him. But the wicked are like the troubled sea when it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. There is no peace, saith my God, to the wicked. So with that being said, I pray y'all was edifying, fed, stay in the spirit, don't fear it, just endure it. Ask for forgiveness, pray without ceasing, stay humble, remain diligent. Kwama Sha'Allah, Maflaba Ball, Shalom.